know when we're live because this thing keeps going, but I think we're live now.
It looks like we're live.
Now, wait a second. Who are you and how did you end up on this show? Who are you?
Well, I'm just the guy from Utah, but yeah, I'm Paul Hutchinson. I've had the amazing privilege of being a part of the Sound of Freedom movie. I'm the executive producer of Sound of Freedom, which is taking the world by storm right now. More important than my business accolades, more important than even being part of the movie was the fact that that movie depicted a rescue in Colombia that changed my whole life. And we can talk in depth about that. That was my first undercover rescue mission. That was 10 years ago. My character in the movie is depicted as Pablo. Eduardo Verostegui, the producer, actually plays me in the film. Homeland Security agent who Jim Caviezel plays is trying to figure out how he's going to quit his job and finance this thing. And more importantly, he needs somebody who can play a role and meet with these traffickers face to face and convince them that he's interested in funding their sex resort for trafficked children and convince them to bring all their children together. And so we can go into depth on that and how that was truly transformational for me and many of the other operators that were there. And then since that time, I have led or played a key part in over 70 undercover rescue missions in 15 countries. Wow. And the biggest focus that I like to spend time on these interviews is not, okay, let's go put everybody in jail and, shoot them all in the head. It's my biggest focus is on the heart, is on the transformation, is how we fix this problem globally. My new focus is what I call liberating humanity. For 10 years, my focus was on eradicating trafficking and going undercover and helping to rescue the children. But I think there's a much bigger picture that we can discuss today and go into depth and figure out what really is necessary to fix this problem for good and how we keep our children safe.
I love it. And I cannot help but being my silly self and started this conversation by who are you? Why are you here? But let's just be serious for a quick second here, because life is already too serious for us to be serious all the time. I am a proud friend because Paul and I connected on Clubhouse not long ago, actually. I pretty much was cooking and I hear this guy speak about human trafficking and being a woman, being from Albania, which Paul, very well, is unfortunately, or was, let's say unfortunately, was a hot mess when it came to human trafficking, especially in the 90s when I was a teenager, not revealing my age here. And I'll share a story later on if we have time about a personal experience. But anyway, so I hear Paul speaking about human trafficking and I'm like, wait a second, who is this guy? And I send him a message on private, and Paul, my goodness, like so humbled, extremely caring and attentive. He responds, and the next thing he cares about is, Migena, I want to spread the word globally. Anything we all can do as humanity to make sure that what's been happening doesn't happen anymore, and we need all the help that we can get. So here is this super awesome human, extremely successful in personal life, in business, who now had dedicated over a decade to rescuing children. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he's talking to me like we know each other forever. He's special. And because I also connect from heart. And long term now, I nurture the relationship with Paul. I stay in touch. And of course, it takes two. So Paul responds, because we can all reach out to anybody and everyone, but if they don't respond, then there's so much we can do. So it's been a very, very much a two-way street for Paul and I, being in this new beautiful friendship. And when I asked Paul to to honor us, to grace us with his presence and share some of the stories that otherwise we would not know, he immediately said yes. And this is when I truly knew that he talks the talk and walks the walk. He does both. And it is an absolute pleasure and honor to ask you a couple of questions from Migena and, of course, from a lot of my friends, because I love being inclusive. So a lot of the questions we are asking today are from friends from Clubhouse, friends from my real estate world, and just people that don't even know me. But when I said any of you would like to ask Paul a question, I am randomly picking people that I don't even know said, can you please ask this? And nothing makes me happier being of service, because when we even ask a question on behalf of someone else, especially someone we don't know, in a way we are, I don't know, like we're giving life, and we are pretty much being these messengers. And I love being a messenger. So we're here with Paul Hutchinson. He is a phenomenal father. I love the story that you share with your wife when you went to the gala and you were going to buy that dress. I want you to share that, but I pay attention, and that's how that's how I actually qualify a lot of my friends in my life. How are you to your children? How are you to Migena, the stranger? And if you are that way, then I know you'll be the same way with anyone and everyone. So we're here today with Paul Hutchinson. He, in addition, is the executive producer of the movie The Sound of Freedom, which I have not watched yet because I am manifesting that I will be watching the movie with Paul and his family for the first time. And this is why I have not watched the movie, and I refuse to until that happens. Mark, my world is going to happen, and Chef Andy is going to cook for us. And he's now, without delaying us anymore, Paul, my first question is: Can you take us back on day one? How did it happen? Did you just like have this dream and you got up in the morning and you said, "I am not," because that's what happens with me with a lot of things that I've made decisions about in my life. How did it happen for you? I want to go back to, as we call it, day zero. There's no day zero because you've been in existence, so you can remember yourself talking and walking, either 2-year-old or 5-year-old, building your character and personality. But I'm curious to know, having a successful career, being surrounded by all of these powerhouses, you wake up one morning and you say to Paul, I think I'm going to go this direction. Like how did that happen?
Well, honestly, I felt most of my life that me being here in this earthly existence is much more than just, hey, I'm going to grow up and find a career and make a bunch of money. And I felt very strongly that I was here for the purpose of having a powerful, positive impact in the lives of other people. And I didn't understand exactly what that would look like, but I felt very strongly that that would be my life. In fact, as a young child, as third and fourth grade, I wanted to be a brain surgeon to help people fix all of the things that were, having challenges in their mind. And then I changed that to being a heart surgeon. From a retrospect, looking back. Maybe it was because part of me realized that we're never going to fix our head until we fix our heart. And so that was my goal for a long time. I took a bunch of pre-med classes, even while I was still in high school. I was 2 months away from taking the MCAT when I got in a major car accident and I severed the tendons in my hand, and they didn't know if I'd have the dexterity. I do now, but they didn't know if I had the dexterity to be a surgeon. I changed. I won't go into detail about that change, but I did have a mentor at the time that said, Paul, if you make a decision today that not just 2%, the average person gives about 2% to charity. He said upwards of not just 5 or 10%, but more than 20% of your money and 20% of your time will go to making a significant impact in the lives of others, into charity work. He said, your financial goals will be so much easier to achieve, and you'll be so much more fulfilled in every area of your life. And I'm earning like $2,000 a month at the time, right? I'm so 20% of that. Now I have to live on $1,600. That was difficult, but I believe that decision that decision to dedicate my life to charitable pursuits made all the difference in the world. How does somebody become a partner, let alone the founder of a $40 billion real estate fund? You're not a University of Utah dropout, right? That the statistical probability of me being where I am is pretty much zero. The only way that I can understand it is that I made that decision to give back even when I didn't have the money or the time to do so. And that commitment made everything happen. I realized that if I worked really hard at my business goals, I had decent results because I worked my butt off. But if I worked really hard and tried to have a powerful positive impact in the lives of other people, then my business goals were just booming. It was amazing. And very seldom were those successes directly tied to things that I did. I would work hard, but then out of the blue, something dropping in from heaven, so to speak, would just boom, show up and be a part of the growth and the success of my company. And I believe, and this isn't a religious conversation, but I believe in God. Most people believe in some sort of higher power, and you can call it karma, you can call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want to. There's a higher power very interested in us doing good. And I tell people that I'm really not that charitable. I just need help running my companies, and God helps better than I do. So boom, some beautiful things open up. And so it's this amazing influx of beautiful blessings, you might say, in life that are tied to charitable work. So that's a kind of a long introduction, but then moving forward into the child rescue work, I felt very prompted, very inspired for many years to get really good at hand-to-hand combat and weapons and all kinds of things that I never served in the military, but I knew that I would be fighting a war someday. Little did I know that this war wasn't a military battle type of a war. This war was against evil in its purest, darkest form. And it was against something like child trafficking. And so fast forward, I had been donating a lot of money and time to child-related charities, but I also had a special set of skills that makes me somewhat safe in a dangerous place. And I get a phone call from our Attorney General. And he said, Paul, this was 10 years ago. He said, Paul, I've met a Homeland Security agent who is depicted in the film by Jim Caviezel. He said, I've met a Homeland Security agent who has identified about 20 children in Cartagena, Colombia. And he needs some help to pull them out. He needs about $50,000 to make this operation happen. And, I had been raising money for my fund. I knew all of the wealthy guys in Utah, and I had written a whole bunch of big checks to charities. And so I agreed to have them come and present to some of my investors what was going on. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that kind of thing even existed. People are selling children for sex. I mean, how does somebody get to the point where they even think that that's attractive? It was beyond comprehension. And I not only agreed to help raise some money, but a few weeks later, the Homeland Security agent called me and he said, Paul, I'm in Cartagena, Colombia. There's not just 20 children. There's more than 50. There's more than 100 children in the surrounding areas. We have a plan that we can rescue them all at the same time on the same day. I need your help. And I said, well, how much do you need? He said, I need you. Can you be in Colombia in 2 days? So that was the beginning. And, in the movie, he brings in my character, Pablo, about halfway through, who helps to contribute to that rescue of those kids. And that was one of the most amazing opportunities to be a part of that rescue. And then since then, like I say, over 70 undercover rescue missions in 15 countries over the last 10 years.
Oh, wow. That is, I feel you found each other. I think if you both found each other. By you, I mean you finding your life's calling, and life's calling finding you. I think that oftentimes us humans wake up or go to sleep with a lot of doubts. Why are we on earth? Yes, because we're going to work to support our families, to survive, to thrive. But really, why are we here? What's the bigger purpose? And to hear your story, of course, gives me goosebumps. But I know it's extremely sad, but to hear your story and to learn that you found your passion and those were the steps that had to happen in order for you to be where you needed to be, from the physical aspect to the mental aspect to the heart aspect. They all have to be in alignment, because if they're not in alignment, there's so far you can go. So yes, for all of us, that's a question we ask ourselves on a daily basis. Why are we on earth? Who are we looking to serve? Are we even serving ourselves? Because from what I'm hearing, Paul, is you are being served the most. I feel like you are being rewarded the most through a child's hand touching yours, through a child's tears you wipe off, and not to start talking about their families and the blessings. As my mom says, when you put your hands in your pockets and you feel like your pockets are empty, just remember how many lives you changed and helped, and you will be the wealthiest person on planet Earth, because that's what matters. And I just love, love, love so much that people like you exist, because I know it takes you to show up, but I know there's many others, like that person that called you and said, I need you. I don't need your relationships. I don't need your connections. I don't need your bank account. I need your heart account, right, Paul? Because if you don't lead with heart and then follow by mind, I don't think any of us would be able to succeed much. So that leads me to another question, Paul, and that's from our friend Jason Rivas. What does success mean to you? That's a question that we all ask a lot.
I will say this. So many people think that success is a bank account. Success is a big house and nice cars. And in fact, as a teenager, I had a poster, a couple posters on my wall. One of them had a bunch of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and a nice house and stuff, and another said, he who has the most toys wins. Right. And that was kind of the mindset. Hey, whoever has the most toys wins. Now I have one that says the person that has a powerful positive impact in the most lives wins. Now, understand this. It's okay. It's okay to work hard and have a successful career and have a nice home, have nice safe vehicles for your family and the ability to travel. That's okay. I use things, houses, cars, whatever. I use things to motivate myself to do the right thing long enough for me to realize the right reason to be doing it. And the right reason isn't things. The right reason is making a difference. But those things motivated me to build a company, to build success to the point where I could write those big checks. I could create those foundations. I could create the Child Liberation Foundation, and I could create Liberating Humanity. I could put all of that stuff in to that life mission of making that positive impact in the world, because of the fact that I worked hard and because of the fact that I had the resources so that I could direct those in the right places. So, I put my energy into creating value in the world, and that value was rewarded with money that came back to me. And then I can choose to put that money back into more value to the world in the form of more investments that are impact investments, or in the form of charity. What I'm not interested in is people who sat around eating bonbons and watching TV for years and years and years while I worked my butt off, that now come to me and expect me to give them money for no value, or expect me to donate more of my time and money than they are. No, if they want to truly make an impact in the world, instead of demanding that it comes from me to somewhere else, how about they go create value and then they can write those checks? I guarantee that I donate more every year than most people that sit around and point fingers do in their lifetime. So what I'm saying by that is this: go out there and be successful. Go out there and achieve your dreams and goals. And it's okay. It's okay to have a beautiful lifestyle, but make sure you do it with the intent to create massive good, to make a massive positive impact in the world. If we can all do that, there will be no more hunger. There'll be no more poverty. There won't be any more child trafficking. We can all come together to fight these great evils in a way that we can transform the world, but we have to change our mindset about all of it.
Oh my God. I never prepare for interviews, either when I'm a guest or when I have my friends, and you're a friend and we're having conversations. But what came to mind, Paul, is as you rescue a lot of these children and you catch a lot of the bad guys, did you ever ask any of them the why? Why this person who a woman gave birth to grows up to be this adult and creates pain in the world? Now, I'm very curious about that. Like, why?
That's the most important word right there, is the why, when you're trying to understand all of this. See, so many people are focused on the punishment, are focused on the how it happened and how to put people away. And if you really take a few steps back and ask yourself that why question, that is the answer that will liberate humanity right there. See, if you imagine all of these links in a chain, and each link is leading closer and closer to the end link, which we never want to get close to, which is the abuse of a child. So we never want to allow somebody to get to that point where that child is being abused. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the link before that one? And before that. So maybe it's addicted to child pornography. Maybe it's addicted to hardcore, and all of these conversations that we battle back and forth on. For example, the one on pornography itself, right? We sit back and we say, oh, it's a victimless crime where I'm in the privacy of my own office. I'm not hurting anybody. What you have to understand is that there are so many things that create addictions in people. And those addictions are something where you need something harder to have that same fix, right? You go down and you need a harder version of pornography, and people say, oh, no, I don't need any harder. Do you? Let's talk about this. When you take a woman from a divine feminine to an object, you start going down a dark road. And let me explain it this way. Chances are most people who are addicted to pornography today, it started out with buying extra copies of the swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated. And then the next link in that chain was maybe the Victoria's Secret lingerie models and whatnot, the magazine. And then the next one was some softcore porn with just showing boobs. And the next one and the next one and the next one. Pretty soon, they're looking at some pretty nasty, horrible things that are degrading women, that are degrading themselves, that are taking them away from that light and truth that is within them. And so where does it stop, right? Where is it that we have to pull out? Well, it needs to stop before we ever start commoditizing another person, before we ever start looking at a woman or even a man in a way outside of the amazing divine masculine feminine that is within them. And so these are conversations. Now, even back before that, from the why standpoint, let's follow this chain all the way back. See, people ask me, Paul, how can you go face to face with somebody selling a child and not have them see the hatred and the anger in your eyes? And my answer surprises them, and it makes some people mad. Here's what it is. I don't have that anger. I don't have that hatred. Now, understand this. I will do everything in my power to ensure they never touch another child again, right? I love the innocence of those children, and I will protect the innocence of those children with everything in me. However, what I wish more than anything is that I had a time machine and I could go back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years before that perpetrator ever touched a child. What can I find from that conversation? What I can sit down with them and say, okay, what is going on in your heart right now? Why? Why are you choosing this path rather than that one? Most of them were likely raped as children themselves. The number of people who have experienced violence as a child is off the charts, Literally, statistics range all over the place, but a lot of them are pointing to over 40 to 50% of all women have been a victim of sexual violence at some time in their life. That a quarter of all women, 1/4, literally 1 billion on this planet, experienced it as a child under the age of 18 years old. Now, for men, it's a little bit less. It's roughly 20%, 1 in every 5 at some time in their life. But even them, some statistics say it's upwards of 25% of them. It was under the age of 10 years old in their own homes. Now, here's why that's important. 1 out of every 3 people who have been a victim of that kind of abuse as a child, 1 out of every 3 become contact offenders themselves in either verbal abuse, physical abuse, or even sexual abuse of a child. Now, God bless the 2/3 that come out of it and saying, you know what, I'm going to use my pain as a motivation to protect innocence, to protect the children, to fight for good and for justice. God bless them. But can we come with compassion for all of them before they ever pass their trauma on? Can we come with compassion for all of them and say, okay, in their adolescent years, in their young adult years, before they even have any kids of their own, can we say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's shed this negativity that you're holding on to. Now, here's the problem. The average age of somebody who comes out and speaks about their abuse as a child, the average age is 52 years old. Now, that's my age. I've got grandkids, right? I've lived my life, my career. So many people are living their life holding on to so much pain, and some of them don't even remember where it all came from. But the process of just speaking about it and releasing that and identifying the fact that we're not defined by what happened to us, by the garbage that somebody threw on us because they were dealing with their own trauma. If we can fix that, we will save millions of children.
I love it. Our dear friend Paul Orispedo, the accidental gangster, says hello. You get to see a lot of these beautiful people here loving this Q&A we're having together. Now I want to show this picture. Can you tell us about this picture? Who are these people?
So the one in the orange shirt, that's me. And the pink on the other side, that's Eduardo Verástegui. He's one of the more famous actors in Mexico. He plays me in the movie. He's also the producer of Sound of Freedom. Eduardo Verástegui.
But the character is Pablo.
Pablo, yep. He plays Pablo or Paul in the movie. He plays the part of and then the girl in the middle, she plays the part of Giselle. In real life, her name was Kelly. That was a female in the operation to rescue the children who had a fake modeling agency, and she went around to towns in South America and told the parents, oh, your daughter's too pretty to be working in the field. She should be a model. And she would dupe them into bringing their children into these photo shoots and convince them to let their kids go into modeling. And then she would groom them and sell them into trafficking. It was horrible ring that she was a part of. And so that was the actress, of course, that plays her in that film in The Sound of Freedom. But that was taken on set. We were in Baru Island, just outside of Cartagena, Colombia, where we filmed that scene of the place that they brought the 54 children. So in real life, it was an island just a number of miles away from that. But the traffickers had brought, including this female trafficker, had brought 54 boys and girls, aged 11 to 18. They were being told this was a sex party, and these traffickers had brought these children. We put the children in this cabana area, this grass hut type of a house area, and sat with the traffickers outside negotiating with them. And one of the traffickers stood up and went in the house. He said, "Pablo, I have to show you the gifts that I brought you." And he's in there for about 10 minutes, which was strange. But then he came back out. When we could hear a couple of the children crying while he was in there. And they were so scared of coming out and meeting, the men who are going to defile them. And he brings these children out, 4 virgins. They're super scared. 1 little boy and 3 little girls. This little boy was, I believe he was 11. I think he was brought in from Haiti. They gave him cocaine that morning because he was so scared it was going to hurt. What kind of effed up monster thinks that that's attractive? Every cell in my body wanted to just hug these kids, say, "You're going to be fine. You're going to see your parents again." I couldn't say that. I was sitting there on a chair just like I am now, and they paraded these kids out, and this one little girl, the same one that in the movie they called her Princess. Actually, they named her Rocio in the movie. She was actually there at the rescue. In the movie, we separated it out with a couple other rescue missions that she was rescued in the jungle. In reality, she was there. That jungle was an entirely different team, a different island, different country. But she was standing in front of me, shaking, tear stains on her makeup face. And the most beautiful moment of my life was after the agents came, stormed the party, arrested everybody, Child Protective Services people in there with the children. They were laughing and singing, and that sound of freedom was the most beautiful sound that I ever heard. So that's why we named the movie Sound of Freedom. And I started crying. And I turned to I turned to the Attorney General. I said, "Bro," "I've spent my whole life making rich people richer. I want to make a difference. I want to write a check. What can I do?" And he said, "Paul," he said, "unfortunately, there's a lot of these parties like this going on where wealthy business owners that look and dress just like you are putting on these writing the checks." He said, "I can't teach my Navy SEALs how to wear a $50,000 watch and negotiate a multi-million-dollar deal. And I don't know of any ultra successful business owners who've had the training that you've had. If you're willing to be the bait, I'll change your whole life." So that was the beginning. And sorry, that's a long answer to that one question, but it just brought back so many memories because we were filming right there in that scene of those children being brought to that rescue.
So, not that I want to justify men versus women, because a monster is a monster, but what would you say has been the ratio between men and women who are involved in this horrific?
It's super interesting, and this will be surprising to you. Now, I rank them level 1 through level 4, so I can communicate with my guys of who we met, etc. So a level 1, those are the guys who, they're on the streets, they're selling me cocaine at 2 a.m. They're not trafficking children, but they know the streets. So I make friends with those guys first, and usually they'll refer me to a level, and almost all of those are guys, like 80-90% of those level 1s are guys. The level 2s are pimps, and a pimp will usually refer to me by the level 1 guys once we gain those relationship with them. And those pimps will own trafficked women and have access to the children that they rent out to specific clients. And of those, I'd say that probably 75% of them are men. About 25% of the ones that I've met are females. Then you get to the level 3. These are the ones who physically hold and control the children. that have them in captivity in some way, and more than 50% of them are women. In fact, I was in Haiti. We had worked our way up to that level 3 trafficker, and ironically, one of the level 2s that connected me with her was also a female, but most of the others were males that connected me in and made her feel comfortable with a relationship with us and showing us where she was keeping the kids. And we tell them this. We say, listen, my boss will kill me and my whole family if I taste the candy before the party, but I have to verify that you have it. And so I'll pay you $100 for each one that you show us. This allows us to get to wherever they're holding the kids. They bring us to where they're, and we can geotag that location just in case they end up not bringing the kids to the sting. We can still send the police in to be able to rescue those kids, or they bring the kids to us. And so we had worked our way up. This was a female trafficker named Cho. She sticks a key in this door. It's a super dangerous area of town. It's outside of Port-au-Prince in Pétionville, Haiti. Sticks a key in this door. It's about 4 feet wide, about 7 feet tall. It's red, rusted steel door. Opens this door. There's a hallway, dark alleyway type thing, and there's multiple cell doors down the left-hand side. No windows, no other access other than these smaller doors. She sticks a key in one of those, and there's it's not even a bed. It was a steel plank held to the wall with a chain so you could fold it up in this little 6x6 room. And to the left of that, on a dirt floor, was a concrete block. And this little girl was sitting on that concrete block. You wouldn't even keep your worst enemy's dog in a situation like a horrible, horrible, horrible situation, conditions. And this little girl looks up like, this has happened a million times before. We told him, yep, that's what our boss is looking for. There was multiple cell doors down that thing that she was keeping these kids. That little girl didn't speak for 2 weeks after we rescued her. Not one word. And I wasn't there, but one of the operators said that the first words she said were, I didn't think anybody would come. Because she gave up hope 7 years before. This female trafficker was trafficking her for 7 years, 20 plus times a day for 7 years. So now she's learning to dance. She's going back to school, has a healthy family that's adopted her. Her parents were lost in the earthquake 7 years before. She was 7 years old when they were lost. Nobody knew she was alive. And she was sold for sex 20 plus times a day for 7 years. Now at 14 years old, what made me so mad is that every single man who walked in that door for 7 years was there to harm her. We were the first, it was me and my operative, Andy. We were the first men to walk through that door that didn't have that intention. So anyway, that's, again, a long story to the females, but I think it's important to kind of understand the dynamics of how some of these things work. And almost every one of those females that were involved were trafficked as children themselves or were raped as children themselves. So again, the goal to fixing this, I've realized after 10 years of doing undercover work that every time we pulled 20 children out of hell, if not enough was being done to fix the why, then another 20 children are being sucked back in to fill that demand. Somehow we need to come together as humanity and say, how did it get to that, right? How did it get to that? What can we do to help heal those women who were abused as children? And give them the tools they need to shed that trauma, to step into a place of light and never pass their trauma on to somebody else.
Oh my God, this is insane. You already brought us into that cell, and I haven't watched the movie, which in a way it's making me want to watch the movie, but I'm going to watch the movie with you and your family. So that's going to happen now. My friend Jedediah has a question. Has there been any negative response from the film industry regarding this film? And why do you think that is, if the responses have been negative?
Oh, it's been hugely negative for anybody who's been watching. It was negative from the beginning.
Mm,
I'm talking 9 years ago when we first took this film into people at Sony and Lionsgate and Paramount. They wanted the story, but they wanted full control. They wanted to be able to manipulate the story wherever they wanted to. And I frankly don't trust their full control of what they want to do with the story. And they could have tabled it for 20 years and never did anything with it, which probably would have happened. So fast forward, we decided to fund it privately. I'm the primary investor in the film, the first investor, and then we brought in some other private money to be able to make it happen. Then even after we were completely finished, this film was done 5 years ago. 5 years ago, ready to come out to the world. This film that's now done over $180 million in box office just in the US alone, it was done 3 years ago and nobody wanted to distribute it. Nobody. We went all the regular routes and could not get distribution. It wasn't until we found a system that allowed us to take this to the people, by the people. We're talking the grassroots movement of what Angel Studios has, with a whole bunch of good people on social media. Notice, you don't see this film promoted anywhere on Main Street media,
not,
anywhere in Hollywood, nothing. The
no.
only reason anybody knows about it is because of social media, because of good people like you and I who are getting out saying, you know what, I'm going to pre-purchase tickets for my friends because everybody needs to see this. This is what has to happen in order for real change to happen. Unfortunately, we have backed ourselves into a corner, not only in this country, but globally. We've backed ourselves into a corner and we have given up so much control of the propaganda to people who don't have our best interest in mind. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why is big media against this? Why is Hollywood against this? Why are all these people talking so much crap? Because this goes against their agenda. And that's where you have to open your eyes and ask yourself what that agenda is. And you start going down that's a super, super scary conversation about what that agenda is and why. We have to ask ourselves, what is being allowed into our homes and being promoted by mainstream media and by Hollywood, and why? Ask those why questions and you'll get to a place where your eyes will be open. You'll say, wow, now I'm awake. This is pretty interesting. Now I understand why we have our third graders wanting sex change operations. Now I understand why we have so much pedophilia. Now I understand why this human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, and good people don't even know that it's happening. That why will all come out when you open your eyes and see who is with us and who is against us.
Wow. Now, Sky Logan has a question. He's one of my friends that I don't even know, but he is another phenomenal person, just like yourself. He's been in the rescue missions himself, and he sent me a list of at least 20 questions. But I asked him to come on the show and ask it himself. So the question is, how do you work to care for and counsel the children after they have been rescued or abduction? Are there programs in place? How can we help?
Yes, thank you, Sky. In fact, we partner with a lot of other NGOs. When we go into a country, before we do any of the rescue missions, we make sure that there are NGOs in place in those countries who have beds, who have therapy, etc. Those children need to stay there unless they were abducted from another country. Then we can take them back to their families. But most of them stay there, and we provide that help that they need. There's a beautiful program in Guatemala, one of our sister foundations there, that their system works so well. They have helped tens of thousands of victims over the last 30 years. And they have a piece of property way away from any of the cities. They've developed a ranch area and a farm area, and they have wealthy donors come in and build a home that's there. Not a big, beautiful, lavish home, maybe something with 2 or 3 bedrooms, maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms, but it's something that then they will bring in a family, a poor family who can't afford their mortgage or whatever, but maybe they have 1 or 2 kids of their own. And they say, listen, we'll bring you into this environment, into this home. and we'll rescue you from being that horrible situation you're in. But what we ask is that you also bring in, we're going to give you 2 or 3 new children, so that these kids don't end up in foster homes the rest of their life. They're in a living, breathing, loving family together with the therapy and the psychiatrists and all of that stuff, because the rescue of pulling them out of hell is the easy part. The real rescue happens after that. And in fact, the Child Liberation Foundation now has a new program where they're building what they call liberating wings or healing wings. This is a physical expansion on some of the safe houses of the kids that we've worked with, where in that we're bringing in healers and people who can work with trauma healing and meditation and all kinds of different things that we can use to help these kids get through that crap. I will say this. It's amazing how quickly, if you put these children into a healthy environment, because of the fact that that trauma is known and you can work through that trauma with them, it's amazing how quickly they're able to bounce back and start living a normal life. You see people like, Elizabeth Smart. She has a foundation of her own. She was abducted when she was 12 here in Utah years and years ago. But because of the fact that it was known of the challenges that she just went through, she was able to get to the help that she needed. The biggest challenges are people who, your next door neighbor, your aunt, your sister-in-law, whoever, who was abused by your uncle or the other neighbor, whatever, and holds that pain inside year after year after year. Those ones end up being more difficult to help overcome than just the children. Once you put these children into a healthy home and they bounce back and they're able to identify some new experiences in life. And so we have a whole different focus for adults with healing retreats that we've worked on, that we partnered with in Latin America, where these adults can go in and be a part of a fully immersive transformational healing experience for 4 or 5 days, in which we're able to get 10 and 20 years worth of therapy done in less than a week. That's it's required to have something that intensive for the adults that are still holding on to stuff. But the kids, yeah, we have lots of programs, and but getting them into a healthy, loving home is the best therapy of all.
Of course, I think you and I agree that love heals everything. It's the best medicine in the world, and it's actually free. Breaking news for everyone. Free. I have here posted for everyone who is going to watch our conversation today and moving forward. If you would like to donate for the child rescue missions, you go to the web.liberatechildren.org. Even $1 makes a difference. You can donate your message. If you don't have money, go find the people who have the money and have them help. You may be in a situation where it's a decision: do I pay the rent, or do I go out there and leave my family behind to suffer? No, that's not what we're asking here. There are so many different ways we can all help as a community, as a humanity. And it takes one person at a time, and it takes all of us, and it doesn't take a village. For this specific situation, it needs the entire world. I think the entire world needs to wake up, because this is not an issue that's happening only in Latin America. This happens in the United States. This happens in Albania, where I'm from. And when I was not even a teenager, I almost was kidnapped, because in Albania at the time, human trafficking was a lot more prominent than it is nowadays. And I'm walking, it's dark, I'm walking in the street with my parents and another little girl who we were supposed to take to her uncle. And it's funny, I never shared this story until last night, when one of my friends called me and congratulated me for having Paul on my podcast. And I said, look, I mean, to me, it's personal. And even if it doesn't happen to me, it's still personal. But I remember my mother going in front of a car that was driving by to stop them so we can get into that car, because there was another car following us with this man that were armed. and my father wasn't talking to my mom. My mom wasn't talking to my dad. All I could feel is the fear, but I wasn't speaking. And when they went home, I remember both of them starting crying, and I'm like, what's just happening here? And well, never again. We would walk from one town to the next in Albania, let alone in the dark. But as I think of you, Paul, and rescuing these kids, I couldn't help but bring myself back in time. If that was me as a little girl somewhere, God knows where in the world I would be shipped, I wonder if I would have someone like you come and rescue me. So, oh yeah,
Absolutely, I would come find you.
it gets very emotional. So,
Yeah, yeah, we've got so many teams, and I think this is important. The movie, we had to take 8 different rescue missions and a lot of heroes and combine all of those heroes together into one storyline with just a handful of actors. And it's important to know there's a lot of unsung heroes that are still out there helping to rescue these kids. And there's hundreds and hundreds of stories. That was just highlighting one so that we could help create awareness. There's hundreds and hundreds of operators, men and women both. But like I say, I believe we can rescue more children by having these conversations. And people ask, the people who have watched the film, they say, okay, now I've watched it. Now I'm mad. Now I want to do something. How can I do something? What can I do? What can I do? The worst thing that you can do is go be a Rambo in Colombia and go try to rescue kids. You're going to get shot. And you'll probably get arrested if you don't get shot, because we work very closely with the federal police. You don't just go into another country and try to be the hero there. The best thing that you can do after watching the film, the best thing you can do to prevent these travesties is just to go home and hug your kids. And people are like, well, how is that going to help? No, it helps more than you can imagine. The children that are being brought into the sex trade, a lot of them, most of them, are coming from broken homes, from runaways, from a broken foster care program in this country and others. Those are where most of these kids are coming from. Now, yes, there are some cases where a healthy home loses a child and then they end up getting taken in a container ship to another country. That doesn't happen very often, like what's in the movie, but there are cases of that. The thing that you need to be hyper aware of, though, is not necessarily your child being taken. It's your child going through that same kind of terror and sleeping in their own beds at night. You need to have a relationship with your children so that they can comfortably come to you and say, Mom, Dad, I don't feel comfortable when you make me hug Uncle Harry, or I don't feel comfortable when I go over to this friend's house because her brother, grabs me on the butt, or I don't feel comfortable. Our babysitter's been showing us pornography and says that we need to trust her more than you. These are all grooming behaviors. These are things that you as parents need to be aware of, and you need to have a relationship with your children to keep them safe. You need to give them high self-esteem. They need to be not appearing like a target. They need to know who they are. They need to respect their body. They need to understand their relationship with you and with God. They need to understand that their body is sacred, other people's bodies. These are all conversations that you can have. The best thing about this movie is that it brings up the ability for us to have these conversations. A year ago, you couldn't have a conversation about child sex trafficking over the dinner table. That was just too dark for polite conversation, right? Today, it brings it up in a way where we can say, okay, this is pretty dark, but what do we do about it? What do we do to help keep our children safe? And in addition to keep our children safe, what can we do? What could have we done 10 years ago to help Uncle Harry, knowing that he had a super difficult childhood before he ever gets to the point where he's a threat to your family, right? So leading this charge with conviction and with compassion is the only way to permanently fix this problem and eradicate child trafficking.
I love it. Wow, Paul, I need to be mindful of your time. I'm good, but I just want to make sure, because Matt, who is phenomenal. Matt, who works with Paul, is absolutely amazing. We're not best friends forever with Matt. He's awesome. I don't know if he has you scheduled for something else because you are extremely busy. It's now almost 2 p.m. Eastern. Do you have another 5-10 minutes, or do you need to go
Yeah. Yeah,
sharp?
I can do another 5 minutes.
Awesome.
I do have something in 15 minutes, but
Awesome.
I can go for another 5 minutes if
I
you.
love it. We love pictures. You were awesome to share a few of them. So can we go quickly on
Sure.
who are these guys?
So I'm in the brown suit. Next to me is Eduardo, who plays me. The next one is the Tim, the Homeland Security agent, who Jim Caviezel plays in the movie. And then next to him is Alejandro Monteverde. He is the director of Sound of Freedom.
Oh my goodness. And how many years ago was this picture taken?
That was taken right after we brought them on as our new partners. We called them Team Mexico. That was about 7 years ago.
I love it. And is this on the set?
This is a real picture in real life.
Oh my God. I'm glad
This is the one from the actual mission.
Are these all rescuers, or do we have any criminals here?
There's criminals there too. So I'm sitting there in the middle. Right behind me is a man we call La Soga. Not La Soga, La Sombra, the shadow. He is Sean Reyes. He was the attorney general now in Utah. He was there on that mission. The one with his hands out that I'm looking at, that's Tim. That's the one that Jim Caviezel plays, a Homeland Security agent. Mm-hmm. And the one in the white shirt, he was the one who was selling. He had a piece of property that he had inherited that he wanted to develop into a child brothel sex resort. Down there next to his elbow in the black, Fuego, very bad man, coordinated things between the ones who kidnapped the kids and ones that rented them out. So they were two of the many traffickers that were there. We had a undercover camera that was able to grab that shot. But yeah, that was actually in real life right there.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And we have
that's President Vicente Fox. He was the president of Mexico in the past. I'm in his office on the red phone. In fact, that picture that saved my life once. I had been arrested by some dirty cops in Latin America, and they were asking for a $10,000 bribe, and they were ready to put me. They were working with some of the traffickers, and I was in a precarious position. And he was like, "Give me your phone, hand me your phone." And I'm like, I got my handcuffs on. I pull it out of my pocket, and he goes, "Unlock it." And I'm like, I need to call my attorney. He says, "You don't get an attorney. You don't even get a phone call. You're in Mexico." And so then he's going through my pictures on there, and he sees that one. Actually, he showed me. He went through looking for pornography in my phone. I said, "I don't look at pornography." He says, "Oh, you're looking for a sex party. Of course you." And then he goes to this folder that was called Cancun, a bunch of children that we had rescued in Cancun that the traffickers had sent us pictures. I mean, they're fully clothed, but they're obviously 10, 11 years old. And he's like, "All right, you're going to jail. These are children." And I said, "Well, why don't you go to that next folder?" And he opens it up. And I said, that picture there is me with the top federal agents in your entire country. There's me, and the other guys are handcuffed in the other cars right now behind us. I said, "Go to that next picture." And I showed him this one. I said, "That's me with President Vicente Fox. I'm in his office on the red phone. We help your country find kidnapped children." And he's like, "Oh," he unhandcuffed us faster than we were handcuffed. He knew he was in big trouble.
I love it. Well, it's good to have friends before you even need them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I wanted to show some of these pictures.
You can go through more. I have some more time.
And I would love to add actually a few more as you speak now. Paul, can you let us all know how the everyday person can get involved to continue with the mission, so we can eliminate this forever?
Absolutely. So the Child Liberation Foundation is focused on eradicating trafficking. Liberating humanity has even a bigger purpose. Now, our goal for the rest of this year is to have zero overhead for salaries for any administration coming out of the Child Liberation Foundation. That's all being paid for through Liberating Humanity. So that way, every penny that goes into the 501c3, the Child Liberation Foundation, every penny is going to the mission itself, and nothing's going to overhead salary stuff. All of that's coming through Liberating Humanity, that has a bigger reaching mission of helping people to heal before they ever become offenders themselves, of building healing retreats for the adults, of also providing training for different governments, et cetera, and eradicating it. So there's a lot you can do. You can contribute there on Liberating Humanity if you wanted to help build some of the things that we're doing. You know, there's a form on there that you can put all of your skill sets. If you're like, hey, you know what, I'm really good at social media, great. We'd love your help in promoting the things that we're doing. So whatever skills you have, we would love to put them to work in donating time to this mission at hand.
Now, I have a question. When you arrest these people, depending on which country they're from, do they get, I guess, what's the word? Do they get their life sentence in their own countries, or do you bring them to the United States? Like,
No,
I know it's a silly question, but
yeah, if they're in their own country, and they're breaking the laws in that country, and this is why we have to be working with the top federal agents in that country and the president of each country, is because we go in and we say, listen, we'll do all the work. We'll pay for everything. We'll give you all the credit. People will think that you're heroes. All we ask is that those guys stay in jail for good. They don't get around your system. And number two, we have full access to the children and getting them rehabilitated and back to your families. Now, we usually give them, they'll give them like life in prison. We'll let them plea down to 25 years in exchange for them giving us all the information on any Americans that have been down there doing these horrible things. Those are the most gratifying ones, is when we can identify those American perpetrators that are creating the demand. So whether it's even emails back and forth to them, phone, text, anything that we can do to identify who they are, who they were, then we will arrest those guys in the U.S.
Wow. What's happening here?
Oh, that's it's in the jungle. So we had one mission where, and that operator is still undercover, so we blacked out his face. But there's myself and him. We're dressed as doctors. This was actually in Haiti. There was an area in this jungle where some of the drug lords were bringing in some children that were milling their drugs, et cetera. We were there looking for this little boy. In the movie, it was depicted as the same little girl. In real life, she was actually rescued there in that mission. The same girl that they showed me on the picture, she was there. And then this was a whole other mission looking for a little boy in the jungle area between Haiti and Dominican Republic.
Oh, wow. And what's this? Where are you?
That's the same area. I'm being taking a horse down into that jungle area. So yeah, wow. We have we went in, got nasal swab type things of the kids and found out which ones were tied to families who had lost their children.
And
that's in Mexico. He's the head of the federal police there. And I actually, we walked into the office of the head of the federal police in Mexico last year, and he had my picture sitting on his desk on this award that for people that had made a difference in the lives of women and children in Latin America.
Wow.
And that's my bride on the right. She's we met in Haiti. She's actually a famous actress.
Vanessa, right?
Yeah, Ada Vanessa. Her first name is Hada, last name Vanessa. She was pretty well known in Colombia for a while in all the TV series. And I tell people meeting a beautiful Colombian actress is kind of cool, but when she's donating her time at an orphanage in Haiti, that's amazing. And
for anyone who doesn't know, she refuses to be bought a $2,000 dress.
Yeah, we were dating and
at a gala.
Going to a gala and she didn't have a gala dress. I found a beautiful dress. It was about $2,000. She pulls the tag and she said, "Paul, what's the average cost to rescue a child?" I said, "It costs us an average of about $2,000. She said, "I'm not wearing a child." She said, "We can donate this to the foundation. You can buy me a $200 dress. I'll do just fine." And she did. She rocked that $200 dress for like the next 9 galas.
Like me, she shops on her closet.
That's right.
I tell people I'm wearing my uniform today. They're like, "You were in all these events for years with the same dress." I said, "My closet." Because when people ask you, "Wow, you look the same. You haven't changed. I say, you want to know the secret? It's the same dress.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be $2,000.
It doesn't have to be $2,000. So
Yeah.
Jedediah is asking if it's helpful for other influencers, especially celebrities, and Vanessa is one of them, to get involved, to bring in the awareness, because it's like going big faster, Paul.
Absolutely.
It's like, how can we go big faster? How can we rescue
For a
more?
long time, for the last 10 years, I was zero social media. I was doing undercover stuff, so I couldn't even be out there. Now, and even the Child Liberation Foundation, we hadn't even done anything with it for the last couple of years, because it was just something that I had put money in to fund the rescue missions. Now that we've decided to go public, absolutely, if anybody has connections with influencers, people who can put me in and others on stages, or connections with celebrities, we would be honored to connect with them. And there's many really good ones that are part of what we do. I donated some money, a couple $100,000 to a couple other foundations just a few years ago that are run by celebrities. So yeah, we're partnering with a lot of them.
I love it. And I was speaking to someone yesterday to bring you on a stage in December. I'll work with Matt. You kind of like, I don't even text you anymore. I'm like, I've got Matt now.
Yeah, he figures out my world.
Yeah, he figures out everything.
Yeah.
But I am looking forward to do my part, to help and gift you to the world this message, the presence that you will bring. You are coming to another in-person event in September. For anyone who wants to know, DM me. We will not reveal it here. You'll get to meet a lot of my friends from our ecosystem, and some of them are here today. And I know you have to go right now, but I cannot thank you enough, not just for showing up here today, but for showing up in the world every day with your heart, with your strength. And I really wanted to ask Roberto's question, so you can teach us all something today. How does Paul stay sane through all the pain, through all of the emotional war that happens internally? Because you are a father, you are a husband, you are a friend, you are a lot of beautiful things that God has gifted you, in addition to you being a hero to the ones that don't even know that you exist. But there is that hope that the Americans will come and save us. And it's very real. Like, how does Paul, when you look yourself in the mirror, what's one magical word you tell yourself so you can reset and do it even better, even stronger?
Yeah, I meditate and pray every day, and I believe that there is a much greater purpose to all of this, that we are here to serve, to love, to have compassion, to expand, to protect. And in doing so, I have seen the darkest part of human nature, but I've seen such a beautiful light at the end of the tunnel with the rescue and rehabilitation and reuniting of children with their families. But I have to reset every day. I have to connect with Mother Earth. I have to connect with God. I have to connect with my higher self. I have to go inside and take that quiet time to release all of the chatter that's just going on all over the place, and feel the love that comes from all of the good people who are fighting for right, for good, for light. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I do every day, because you can't let yourself get bogged down in the emotions of fear and the emotions of anger and greed and jealousy and frustrations. These are all low vibration energies that are going to eat away at the quality of your life and cause sickness and pain and disease. I believe there's some beautiful, beautiful things on the horizon. Almost every religion believes in a future with 1,000 years of peace and God coming back, their version of God. I truly believe that God's not going to come and just flip his fingers and say, okay, all of us are going to be nice to each other. We have to work on that that 1,000 years of peace right now. We have to work on what we need to do to change that negative energy that we're holding on to and come into a place of light and peace and forgiveness and charity and compassion. If we can do that, then we can be that instrument that truly does transform the world and raises the vibration of the consciousness of all of mankind. I believe that that's where we are, and it's beautiful to see where the future is going.
Oh, I am. Oh my goodness, we couldn't have ended this one of many conversations on a better way, because you pretty much read my thought. I was asking you, do you think there's hope that in our lifetime you no longer are going to wear a fake doctor's uniform, but you get to wear your shorts with palm trees and really enjoy vacation and feel comfortable that your daughters are on vacation in another country and they're safe.
Yeah.
So we are hopeful that we can get there, but it's going to take all of us. And remember what Paul said, and I can agree more with him, because I still live with my parents and my brother, and I can't function if I don't say good morning with hearts to them every single day. The safety of our planet starts in our family. It doesn't start us getting on cars and airplanes and saving a child somewhere. Let's start by saving our own children, saving our own siblings, because you can be a parent, you can be a guidance, an angel, even to your siblings. You don't need to be a parent to protect. You can be that beautiful neighbor. You can be a beautiful human showing up in the world with positivity and safety. And again, start at home, then work outwards, but start internally, and let's save the world. And Paul, I am so looking forward to hugging you in person and to have you back on the show. And this is why my show is called ASKMigena, because I want all the voices in the world to ask questions, and then we gave them a voice. It's not about me, it's about us. And thank you again so much in the name of everybody who's seeing this. You truly honored us today, and thank you for the gifts you give to the world on a daily basis.
Thank you. Super grateful.
Have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much.